Alrighty.
Welcome back, babe.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's actually time for our first sort of, I want to say topic, but we said we wanted to elaborate on our whole testimony after asking mom and dad's permission to get married and all of those things, and then what happened after. I think that's what we want to talk about today.
Yes. So obviously, after asking my parents, if you could court me, we were together for about 3 months. At that stage, I can remember you went through some personal things, in your life, and you were spending a lot of time with myself and my family at our, my parents' place. And, it was a place of like safety for you at that point. So I think seeing you much more regularly was a blessing for me. And obviously, because my family loved you that much already from the get-go, they also didn't mind that you would spend so much hours there. And I think, obviously there's a certain context that you can share from your perspective, but I remember you had this whole, I think was it 3 months? We were together 3 months.
It was now October, and
Yes.
then I asked you to get married on the 20th of January, exactly
Yes.
3 months.
Yes.
And I had this whole thing planned on, the Bronkhorstspruit Dam, and I asked
Yes.
somebody for a boat and to take us out, and
Yes.
I wanted the sunset moment and stuff, and then it rained.
Yes. I
And
remember
then,
that.
I know we're skipping ahead a little bit, but then,
Yes.
well, I'm not talking about it. And then
Yeah.
at that time, I was not joined mom and dad's church, and then I asked you to marry me, so I went down on one knee. Kikkies. I went down on one knee, literally in church, and I can still remember that I had the mic. Obviously I was stressing a lot in that moment, but I had the mic and I was asking you, like, Kayla, will you marry me? And the congregation was screaming so loud that I was scared that you wouldn't even hear me over the sound system.
Yeah.
So I think it was really just profound to have been able to share that moment with the congregation, with everybody that was, part of that moment. Was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually was really special having that proposal in front of all my family, like the church I grew up in. Just that meant more to me than, a private proposal on a boat somewhere, which is very romantic and
Yeah.
very fairy tale like. But I'm such a sentimental, like, correlational person that
Absolutely.
having it happen in front of all my friends, family, and church community meant so much to me. And I remember we actually still have a picture of that day with the ring on my finger, and I was standing there with the biggest.
You didn't expect anything.
No, I didn't expect anything, and just smiling, having the biggest smile on my face, and it was the happiest day of my life.
I love that.
Yes.
So let's backtrack a little bit. I know I jumped ahead there.
Yes.
But you were saying that it was about 3 months, between asking your parents' permission. I still remember, the small town that we stayed in was so traditionally minded.
Yes.
In the sense that there was one point in time early in our relationship in those 3 months that we went to Pick and Pay, but we were sort of scared holding hands because people would look at us in weird ways and
Yes.
and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
13 years ago in a small town that still was very racially minded, not crossing. Yeah, obviously
Yeah.
everyone can try and like figure out what I'm trying to say, but just having people look at you and be like,
Yeah.
how dare they, how dare they? And I just remember how.
And sorry to break your word, and I think it's just important to mention that like it's a small town. Everybody knows everybody.
Everybody,
So,
yes.
I mean, everybody knew, who you were and your family, and I was and my family. So, irrespective of that, it was still shocking that people would still say, like, this is weird. Why are they like sort of this white guy with the colored girl? But it
Yeah.
wasn't for us. It wasn't about that. It was
No.
about these children of God that found each other, that want to build on something
Yeah.
strong. So it was never about race or
Yes.
anything.
Yes.
But that was a challenge that we needed to work through.
That was especially for myself. Um, you know, just growing up, I remember when I was in primary school, I remember being teased about my hair. It was obviously just being, actually looking at it now, it was technically full on bullying,
Yeah.
being bullied for it. And to a point where I became so obsessed with my hair and what it looked like, and it should always be in place and it shouldn't be out of place, because then they call you names and, oh, look at your hair and it looks, just horrible. I don't even want to like repeat the things that were said, but I remember since then it's always been in insecurity with being in circles with white people. What do they think of me? Are they disgusted by me? Am I perfect enough to be in that circle? Am I perfect enough to walk in that circle? And yeah, it was absolutely, definitely something that became an insecurity from early on in my life. And I remember when you and I got together, I think that was one of the big reasons I was very shy being around you, because like, what does this, not that I want to make it a race thing, but like at that point it was obviously like a racial thing. Like, what does this white guy want from me? Like, I've always mostly been used to them kind of saying these comments or not really liking me or thinking I'm beautiful,
Yeah,
or
breaking you down more
or yeah. So then I have you that completely validated me every single time you saw me, telling me how beautiful I am, how amazing my hair looked. And I didn't even try and make an effort. I remember this one day when you came to visit me and I was not feeling my best at all. And usually always when I know JD would come and visit, I'll make sure, okay, get the hair done quickly. Like, JD's coming over.
the makeup
Like, put makeup on, make sure you look perfect. And that day there was no heads up at all.
I think Mom told me that you were not feeling well, and then I decided, let
Yes.
me just come
And
and
you
pop
just
in.
came and you just came to pop in, and I just remember I felt so embarrassed, like, for you to see me that way. And you were so loving. I don't think I've ever felt such a comfort of someone telling me, wow, you look so beautiful. And you still said it to me,
Yeah, I made sure.
Hair was everywhere, no makeup. I was just like, oh my goodness, this is the first time this guy is seeing me in this state. Like, he's not gonna like me anymore. And more so, you actually like me even more. Like, you actually, when you went home, you expressed to me, you look so beautiful today. I absolutely adore you. Like,
Yeah, without
and
makeup on.
and it brought like just so much healing to me. Like, it just in that moment brought so much healing. So I remember it was really a hurdle to get over, especially when we would be in public spaces and now we engaged and going out, whether, because obviously it's a small town, so there's a Pick n Pay and there's a Wimpy,
Yeah, when you
and there's
and
a Pick n Pay
they're
and
literally
there's
a
a
few
Wimpy
meters from one
and
another.
there's a Pick n Pay and it won't be.
Yeah,
So just going into those public spaces and heads turning and people like raising their eyebrows and
yeah,
you just pulling me closer and holding me tighter and making sure that I know that I am your prized possession.
absolutely.
You've always shielded me from those looks and shielded me from those comments and shielded me from those under the breath type of things people would say when you walk past them. And I just wanted to thank you for that,
Such a
in this
pleasure,
moment as well. Just thinking back on that, I think this podcast really opens up a lot of, memories that we haven't really reflected on in quite
recently.
some time. Yeah. So just having you shield me, having you protect me. And so, yeah, it was definitely something I needed to overcome, and I'm grateful I have, because now it's like our country has grown a lot more,
Absolutely.
and yeah,
And also, I think, like, church has really helped us,
yeah,
not that we really had, obviously, I mean, we married cross barriers and stuff, but I mean, it really helped us to help others, also just not look at or play the race card every day. Because at the end of the day, there's one race and it's the human race,
yes,
and
yes,
all of us have the same blood pumping through our veins, so you can't
yeah,
really differentiate a person in that way, and I'm really grateful for that. And I think we spoke about the 3 months. That was now the 20th of January. I asked you to get married in front of everybody. And then I think the most significant thing that happened after that was that I had a youth leader, Henry. If Henry is ever going to watch this episode, I'll always honor him for this part of our testimony. But
yes.
he got married to Janine, and I still remember this vividly, where we bumped into them, like
At
you said,
where?
Pick
Where?
and Pay.
At Pick and Pay.
Yeah, we bumped into them at Pick and Pay in the
Yeah.
parking lot, and they were like, "Hey, JD, Kayla, it's so nice to see that you guys are, because we were fresh in a relationship, you and I, and we bump into them. They just literally got married like recently, and they're like, but when you're in a relationship and people see you serious, they normally ask you these standard questions like, when are you guys getting
Get
married and
yeah, you guys
stuff
are
like that.
engaged now, so when's the wedding?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we spoke to them and said, we don't really know, we're going to save up, like most people would say, save the money up and all of those things. And they just challenged us in a good way to say that that's what they did, to say, choose a date and trust God to show up. And
Yes.
I still remember after that conversation, you and I, we were so stoked. We were like, yeah, babe, we really want to get married,
Yeah.
but maybe we should just choose a date and let's take them at their word and see what God does.
Wow, I remember that. I remember that so clearly. This is why it's so important for people to know that when something is God ordained, you cannot wait for the perfect moment for everything to fall in place before you take a step of faith. Like, faith is something that is now. So
Yeah.
you put it into action now. Now faith is, the Bible says.
Absolutely.
So you and I literally heard that, took it by faith, and put it into action. So what I see with a lot of people, and even for instance, when people are like, no, we're gonna wait until we have children because we really want to be ready, guys. I don't think anyone will ever be fully ready to have kids. You'll never be fully ready to get married. It's something you do in faith because you know God ordained it for your life.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion. That's my personal take on it. I'm not saying that everyone should follow it that way, but
Yeah.
I remember it when it's from God, it's literally His handprint will be on it, like His favor will be on it, and He will make
Absolutely.
it happen. So I just want to encourage those who are engaged right now, still waiting for all the finances to come in, still waiting for everything to be perfect, everything to fall in place. When you just choose a date and you trust God, I can promise you from my own testimony, my husband's testimony, that God will show up. God will show up when you put Him to the test. And it's been absolutely the greatest reward getting that advice,
Absolutely.
because
That was the pivoting moment.
that was.
Yeah,
That
because that
was.
changed everything. And then from there,
Yeah.
we decided yet again, we asked permission to start courting on the 20th of October. So after that conversation, I still remember we looked to see if the 20th of October, that 2013 is open, and that's when we found that it falls on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So we couldn't do that, and then we said, okay, cool, 19th is the
Let's
closest.
do the
so
19th,
yeah, let's trust God for that. And
which is such an amazing date for me as well, because on the 19th I was born. Like on the 19th I got married. On the
Wow.
19th I got baptized.
wow,
So yeah, the number 19 has always meant so much to me.
Come on.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that is
Yeah,
awesome.
I knew that, but it's really cool.
That's really cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what happened after that? I mean, I think the significant thing after that conversation and also making up our minds, having our families support us, and I think it's important to mention this. And mom, if you're watching, I really love you so much because you're everything to me.
Yeah.
And I still remember sitting with my mom. I think she and my dad came back from Cape Town literally a
Yes.
few hours ago.
Yes.
And she did give me some context after that. But I went to go sit with my mom outside and I spoke to her and I said, Mom, I really want to get married to Kayla. And obviously she knew, I was young and these things. And she also had, her own journey and stuff. And she sort of, fell on her back figuratively to say that, JD, like, I really want you to, build up yourself, get your, like her analogy at that evening was,
Yes.
you're this prince, build your castle before you take your princess into it,
yeah. Which makes total sense. And I mean,
Absolutely.
as a parent, if I have to think about having kids and like my child comes to me at the age of 19,
18.
you still like kind of, you just finished school. Did you finish school?
No, I was when we had this conversation, I was still writing my matric exams.
You were still writing your matric exam, yes, your end year exam. So I think for any parent, that was obviously a normal reaction.
I don't blame my mom at all.
Yes, I think we really dropped a bomb on that. And I think my parents obviously were very supportive because they have a very similar testimony to ours. I mean,
Absolutely.
they also got married when they were very young. They were also, came through school together and got married, very, very young. So they were rooting for us from the beginning. And I think for me, I think I want to say the fear that I had was like, will your parents accept me? Obviously, they raised you not to see the color thing, but like, will they accept the fact that this young, like their son wants to get married at this age? Like, what are they going to do? What are they going to say?
Yeah.
And yeah.
So when we had that conversation, obviously my mom was like, flabbergasted, and rightfully so. And she said, build yourself up first, get a house, buy a car. That's what she envisioned for me. To buy my own house, get a car, get settled in a job, all of this. Because I'm 18, I haven't even started working yet.
Yes.
So she obviously had this whole plan, and then we sort of just slid off. Obviously, I spoke to my mom, and she bought in, and she supported us, and my dad also supported us, and
your dad was actually very supportive, surprisingly.
yeah,
I thought he would be the little bit more difficult one to convince, but he was like, onthou,
they've got a good family.
trouwens nie perde koop nie, maar they've got a good family, and I think he appreciated the fact that we really truly loved God and we were following Christ, and that was his one prerequisite for the longest time. So
absolutely.
yeah.
And then I'm trying to remember what happened after that. So I spoke to my mom, and I just remember that we just decided, with the whole racial thing in town, and just with Henry and Janine talking to us about the date, we just decided that getting married is actually such a blessing. Like, getting married young is a blessing, because now you can build, I want to say, your empire, together. You can buy a house with double the time, double the finances, double the effort. You can buy a car in the same. So you've got a team, you and I, that have double the time, double the effort, double the finances, that we can now put together, that we can strategize together and build up together, and I think that's something that I can only give God the glory, because He allowed us to have this favor, and having our own businesses today, and working for the companies that we've been working for, and being good stewards of what we had, and stuff like that. But it's just by His grace.
Seeing that growth in both of us since being, 19 years old, 20 years old, going through our first jobs together,
Yeah.
going through our first salaries. Oh my goodness, we got our first salaries together.
Yeah.
Just navigating, okay, how do we work with our finances? How do we, guys, we can tell you guys so many stories about all these things, but just seeing the growth in him. So no one can ever say that, I married you for your money.
Yeah, because I was still in school.
Because we were both broke.
Yeah, I think at the
But
time I made 3,800 rand a month. I think
yeah,
I
I
can't
don't even think
remember
we're
what.
shy to say it. I think, yeah,
I think between the two of us we made about 6,000 rand a
a
month.
month. Yeah. And 13 years ago, we worked with it, and
How many people did we have on our wedding? It was 163.
163.
And just for some last context, so now, after having that conversation with my mom, we was now decided on the 19th of
Yes.
October. And just from there, God accelerated everything. Obviously, we
Yeah.
started planning. We didn't have a lot of time. I still remember my mom made cross in my pockets for, wedding gifts.
Yes,
And
thank you, gifts. I
yeah,
remember it being so God ordained since we made that decision to find a date. And we were like, okay, cool. You asked me out on the 20th, so let's get married like on the 20th of October.
It's
Like October
significant,
sounds
yeah.
like such a nice month, like, because then it's not too hot and it's not too cold. It's like, it's not full on summer, but it's also like
And the flowers are
the
gonna
end
look
of spring,
nice.
so it's going to be beautiful. The flowers are going to be gorgeous. So we're like, okay, cool, the 20th. And like you obviously shared, like we couldn't get the 20th, we got the 19th. So significant. But when we made that decision and we had that short amount of months to arrange a wedding, God's hand was so
On it.
like evident, absolutely evident in every single thing we put our faith to. When we trusted for the venue, I remember the lady that did the
Wow.
venue. I think we were paying her off, and she was just like one day out of the blue, listen, I think you guys have paid me enough. You guys no longer have to pay off the rest. Like, it's a blessing from me. That in itself was a big testimony.
Yep.
Like, people who would just randomly ask, hey guys, what's your bank account? Paying in money. Like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness,
I
my
mean,
wedding dress.
I remember your dress, so that's something that I'm happy you're talking about that, because that was a
Yes.
massive testimony.
Yes.
So just before you start, we now mentioned that we earned about 6,000 rand a month, and a lot of people go with that mindset of like, yeah, no, I need to save up, and it's 100,000 rand this, and 50,000 rand that, and we're not limiting people
Yeah.
whatsoever. We're just saying that. In a worldly perspective, in terms of what we earned and what we sort of could afford from a worldly point of view, it didn't match up. Because even though we didn't earn much, we had an extravagant wedding. We had
Yes.
163 people there.
Yes, we had a beautiful venue, we had beautiful decor. I
So
remember.
talk about your dress. Wait, before we go on, talk about your
Yes.
dress
So
first.
my dress, I remember going for fittings. Like, obviously at that time the style was very like princessy, like, and I just remember we went for it, and I think I got a call that day, or a message from someone to say, listen, I would like to pay for your dress. You like know more details than I do, but like,
I only remember the somebody that blessed us with the honeymoon tickets and the flight stuff.
yes.
I remember your dress. I can't necessarily remember if somebody paid for the dress, but I know that somebody paid in 10,000 rand.
Yes.
To say that we want to. In actual fact, I know it is, but somebody phoned and said, "Please send me your bank account details. I want to send you some money," and they paid in 10,000 rand.
Yeah.
And I remember still that you weren't holding back, not from a bad point of view, but you weren't holding back with your dress, and you were like, "This is the dress that I want," and
we're
that's
only
the
getting married once.
yeah, and that's the assertiveness that I want to like lead with, to say that it's not being or approaching it with a bad mindset, but just to say that I'm a child of God. I'm not gonna settle for second best if your hand is on this.
Yeah.
And you just said, Lord, I know you're blessing this. I'm gonna go for the best dress that the one that spoke to you, you could have settled for second best, and your dress I think was like 8,000 rand. That was like
Yeah.
2013.
And remember, that's a lot of money,
Yeah,
especially when you you can't afford it.
yeah,
So it was an absolute big testimony, and to this day, it's still in my cupboard. And I think I actually put it on now the other day after obviously I went through
yeah.
my health journey and lost about almost 27
Yeah, I think it was like
kilograms.
it was close to 30
Almost
already.
30, yeah. Kilograms, and I remember I made a promise to myself that I'll fit back into my wedding dress
After all these years.
after all these years, and I actually put it on now the other day, so it's so nice.
We have photos, there's evidence.
There's definitely evidence. We should actually link it in there somewhere. But just seeing God's hand in that, I think the whole point that we want to make in this episode is just to encourage people that put God to the test, especially when it comes to trusting Him to get married, trusting Him in that period from getting engaged to the wedding day, putting your full faith that God will come through with the finances and open that opportunity for Him to do it. And I think you and I have sat with a few couples and gave them the hard truth about staying together is not an option, having sex before marriage is not an option, driving the car and testing it out to see if this is what you want is not an option. That's not what God has called us for.
Yep.
Like purity, holiness, all those type of things make a marriage so much more beautiful. And
because God is still a God of principles.
Yes.
He's not going to compromise.
He's not confused.
Yeah.
He's not confused. So if you say, God, I want to do this right, like you and I did it, and God, we want to do this right. We do not want to step over the line before we get married. So we are trusting you for this wedding. We're going to honor you with our love story, with our bodies, with everything. And we absolutely saw God's hand.
Absolutely.
So be encouraged that is definitely something that's important to God.
Can be done.
Yeah, and it can be done, although very difficult, and we'll get to that episode in one of the episodes. But just putting that boundaries in is like such a godly principle, and God will definitely bless you and honor you.
I'm just thinking while you're saying that, to say that in as much as it was so difficult to sort of keep those boundaries in place, because I mean, you love this person, you know you're going to get married, and I think that's a blurred line that people often step over to say that, we're going to get married anyway, let's just be intimate before or whatever.
Yeah.
But anything worth having, it will be difficult. So if it's easy, so at the end of the day, those things are difficult to maybe maintain in that sort of engaged period. But I mean, you and I can sit here today to say that thank God we didn't go over those boundaries, and we were not intimate beforehand and stuff like that, because that can really steal from a relationship.
Yes.
And oftentimes we'll be in conversations with couples that might have been intimate before being married, but then there's a certain thing, sort of extra baggage that they need to deal with, and something that they thought was going to be beautiful. I have to say, 9.5 out of 10 times they would say we regretted doing that, and we might as well just have waited for our wedding night. So at the end of the day, that's the intention with these episodes, to say that not everything that we say is the hard, is going to be the absolute not truth, but you don't have to always just take our word for it.
You don't have to always just but we can actually speak from experience. And
having had these conversations with other couples, we can sort of, and that's the intention, is to learn from each other's mistakes. To say, guys, it's not worth it, even though in that moment everything feels worth it, but it's not. Just rather wait, just do it right, just stick to God's principles. It's there for a reason.
I feel like that's one of the great reasons why God has blessed us, because we've always honored Him. And I'm not saying it pridefully, but God does work in principles. When you honor His principles, He will bless you because there's just a favor on when you obey God. If you're willing and obedient, you will eat the good of the land.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's just an encouragement from this episode, and just a little bit more of us just elaborating on
Our journey.
how we got married and our wedding and the testimony, and that if it's really something you're trusting God for, put your feet to faith, put your
Yeah.
trust in God and just see Him come through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.